Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am driving in Nicaragua right now, and I've been driving in this country for a long time. And in this video, I'm gonna give you 5 tips of driving in Nicaragua that you should know if you're coming to this country. Now, these tips are unusual, and they're more of a locals tip that you won't find in any other blog. You won't find online by newsletters, because we have the experience, I have the experience of driving here, and I've spoken to locals, and with these tips here, they're gonna help you out. If you're coming, you're gonna drive like a pro and just feel more comfortable while you're here. So let's go ahead and get started with the video, and let me talk about tip number 1. Now, when you're traveling down the road, it is common that you'll see people flash their high beams at you. Now, this generally happens for the person that's oncoming to your side, incoming, right? They will flash your lights 1, 2, 3, 4 times, high beams mainly. So when you see this kind of high beam flashing, what you need to know is this person is trying to communicate to you that up ahead there's a potential risk. Now, this risk can be a bunch of things, right? Most common that I see here in Nicaragua when someone flashes their high beams at you is that there's a police stop up ahead. So get ready, whether they're running radar or just a general check, there's potentially a police stop. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that your speed is good and your documents are in order, just in case you do get pulled over. Second potential thing that it might be, it can be an accident. That is also common here. If there's an accident up ahead, maybe someone crashed or maybe there's a broken down vehicle, people will flash their high beams at you, just giving you a pre-warning. So it's actually quite a useful tool here in Nicaragua to use. So once you start seeing that, you'll start recognizing the patterns. Oh snap, someone flashed their high beams, potential risk ahead, either police, crash, or a stop, or something along those lines, cows crossing. It can be any of those items. So just keep that in mind while you're driving, and then eventually you'll get good at it, meaning you'll start flashing your high beams at other drivers. So once maybe you pass an accident, you'll flash your high beams at the upcoming traffic saying, hey, slow down, just a heads up, there is an accident there. So that is tip number 1. Headlights right here. Your headlights are used as a form of communication. Along with headlights too, high beams are commonly used at night because in Nicaragua it gets very dark here. Most roads do not have street lighting, so you need them at night. So it is very common for you to use them at night. It is actually okay, but just beware that if there is oncoming traffic, you have to turn off your high beams and put on your regular beams, because you will blind people. Now, if the person in front of you have high beams on and they're not turning them off, what you can do is you'll flash your high beams at them 2 times saying, hey dude, can you turn your high beams off so I can actually see? So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of funny actually the more I think about it, but it's used as a form of communication. So just know when you're gonna start driving here, make sure you utilize that tool. All right, your horn, okay? Your horn commonly in the US is not used much unless you're angry or pissed off, sitting in traffic, or you want to flip your finger off, right? But here in Nicaragua, the horn is also another form of communication. If you're driving down the road, they consistently use their horn, and I encourage you to do the same. Let me tell you why. Here in Nicaragua, it is common that you need to pass people, meaning that it's only a 2-way road. You're going straight and there's someone incoming, right? And you need to pass the person in front of you if they're going slow. It is common courtesy that you beep at them and let them know that you're about to pass. I do this because I want them to be aware that there is someone that's going to be right next to them in the other lane, and hopefully they can mentally prep in case of emergency. So I'm gonna give them a honk. I'll put my blinker on, and then bam, right there, you just passed them. And then blinker on the other way, and then you look behind your mirrors and you get on the road here, and we officially passed them. Now notice that the lane was yellow. There was no dashes, so technically based on the rules, if there was a police there, I would have gotten pulled over because I crossed a solid yellow lane, right? It needs to be dashed. So just keep that in mind. Follow the lanes on the road, right? You can't pass on a solid yellow. I just did that to look pretty cool in the video. No, I'm just kidding. Another reason you would honk is in case you see your friend. It is common here in Nicaragua that people that see their friends driving, they'll just honk at them and say what's up. Another way too, it is good to honk when there's animals crossing, or you see a dog, a chicken that is just sleeping on the road. For some reason, dogs here in Nicaragua, they love to sleep in the middle of the road. It is very annoying, and it is very dangerous, because if you try to dodge a dog at high speeds, you actually might cause an accident or flip your truck. It's happened to me from experience. I almost got into a really bad accident because I tried to dodge a dog that was in the middle of the street sleeping, and almost caused a huge massive accident. So just plan ahead. If you see animals, slow down way ahead, start honking, and try if you can to avoid them. But if it comes down to it, it is your life over the animal's life. Do not change anything. You're just gonna have to do what you have to do if it came down to that situation. I know it sounds kind of rough, but it is better to protect your family first. So if you hear a lot of honky here in Nicaragua, it is because they're communicating that way. And I encourage you to also use your horn too if you're in crowded spaces and you need to give somebody a heads up that you're about to pass. So don't be scared to use your horn. Tip number 2, major key alert. That is another form of communication here. All right guys, this next tip, which is tip number 3, I'm giving you very good value here. It's an important one, and I'd say it's probably a situation that you're gonna most than likely end up in, and it's kind of unfortunate, but it does happen a lot here in Nicaragua. And number 3 is that you're probably more than likely gonna have an encounter with the police. It is common in Nicaragua to have a lot of stops. They're checkpoints. They're checking documents. Sometimes they're running speed checks, or just in general, a general stop where they're stopping people to see where they're going and checking documents again. Now, if you do find yourself in this situation, here's a couple of tips that can help you. Number 1, if you're going to be driving a vehicle, when you get in that vehicle, make sure where the paperwork is. Always double check to make sure that you have a valid insurance card and vehicle registration. That is the number 1 reason they get you with the ticket here, and that is the number 1 thing they're gonna ask for. They're gonna see, can I see your insurance, your registration, and your license? So if you are renting a vehicle, borrowing a vehicle from a friend, or buying a vehicle, and you take off the lot, but you don't check this, you're gonna find a surprise that you're not gonna like when you get asked to pull it out. So that is number 1. Number 2, let's say you are speeding, right? And you get pulled over for speeding, okay? Now, this is your fault because you were speeding. They are going to write you a ticket here in Nicaragua when you are speeding, but just keep in mind that what's different here from other states is generally you get to keep your license and they'll mail you the ticket. But here in Nicaragua, there's really no mail system, nothing set up, because there's no house addresses like you have in the US or other countries. So what happens is they keep your license. So don't be surprised that if you end up with the ticket, they're gonna keep your license and they're not gonna give it back to you. So basically what you need to do is you need to go to the bank to go pay that ticket to get your license back. I know it's stupid, it's a pain, but that's the way it is, and that's gonna happen if you do get a ticket. So just a heads up, if you do give your license, that potentially you run the risk of getting that taken away. You need to talk to the police officer and see what you guys can work out, if you know what I mean, and then try to get your license back. But those are just common experiences that happen here a lot. I can elaborate on this like for an hour, but I'll make a separate video going into details on that. But just as tip number 3 is make sure your documents are in order. Be aware that there are a lot of stops here in Nicaragua, and be aware that if you do find yourself where you need to they're going to give you a ticket, your license will be taken away unless you can work something out. So that's major tip number 3 here. Hopefully that helps you out. Let's move on to number 4. All right guys, for tip number 4, we need to head to the road so you can see it in action. If you're finding value in this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps out the channel. I'm living here in Nicaragua, rebuilding my family's coffee farm after my father and grandmother passed away. I made a promise to them that I wasn't gonna let the farm die, and I was gonna rebuild it because it was abandoned. So that's the reason why I'm here, and that's the reason why I started this channel, is to show you guys what happens behind a cup of coffee. Also to show you real life Nicaragua, give you tips if you're traveling over here, and show you what Nicaragua is about. So if you like those kind of videos, make sure to subscribe and join the Immense Coffee Movement team. We're out here building that farm, and I'm your coffee brother, you know, because who doesn't love coffee? So let's get started with tip number 4. So this road that you're seeing here in Nicaragua, it is a common road. Now this is not the main Pan American highway But what you can see on this road that is common across Nicaragua, they're always two-way roads. Basically, you're going straight and there's someone that's coming the other way. So what does that mean for you? That means that there's always areas that you need to slow down and be aware that you need to share with that person. Like this bridge example, only one car can pass. Whoever arrives first gets the right of way to go, and then you allow the other person to pass. I've noticed that it is common for people who are traveling don't know that, and then they speed through there and there's someone already coming, and there's always crashes on those bridges. Second is that since they're only two-way roads, people will pass you to your left. You saw that truck right there, they just passed me because I'm going slower. So you would do the same too if you were in their position, if you're actually traveling faster. So you have to be aware of that. Always look on your left side and always check your rear mirrors to make sure that if there's people behind that are about to pass. Now, if you're gonna pass someone, there's ways to do it to be safe about it, right? Always look for the straightaway when you're gonna pass someone. Never pass someone on a curve. If you take a look at this curve upcoming here, this is a blind corner right here. It is common that people that travel over here, they don't do that. They pass on the curve. You see that truck right there? He was coming and I didn't even see him. So if I would have started to pass someone like this that was in front of me on this side of the road, then I would have hit that truck and would have caused an accident. So always pass vehicles when there is a straightaway. That is a major key alert. And always give them a honk. Give them 2 honks, 4 honks, and just let them know, hey, I'm behind you and I'm about to pass you. That has helped me tremendously, just letting them know and communicating with them in case there's a maneuver that he needs to do. So those are a couple of tips here. Other tips that you might run into when you're driving, it is very common that there's going to be obstacles in the road. Okay, this is a very narrow road. It's not like those 5-lane freeways that I was used to in the US, right? It is typical here in Nicaragua when you're driving that there is going to be animals, people, trucks, rocks, stuff that appears randomly in the road. So you might be turning a blind corner and then boom, you run into something like this, which is this big rig taking up a section of your road and another truck coming. So you really can't continue straight, you have to stop. Now if you're going high speed and you're not paying attention, you're not going to be in a good situation there. So just be aware that that is typical, it is common, and you just have to be mentally prepared. Now, driving here, it is totally doable. I actually encourage you, if you're traveling to Nicaragua and you can afford it, rent a vehicle, because it's gonna allow you to see more of the country. You'll travel down to the beach, and then you can come up north where I live. Hey, maybe come visit me, tour the coffee farm, have a cup of coffee. Hey, who knows, right? But either way, if you can, rent the vehicle, because it's gonna open the door to a lot more areas. All right, guys, tip number 5, okay? Directions in Nicaragua, all right? There are no home addresses, business addresses written on top of the houses like you have in the US, where you would have maybe somewhere along the line, Golden Gate Boulevard, house number 514, right? And that identifies that house. Here in Nicaragua, when you ask for directions, they tell you, look at that tree that is white, and then you're gonna go 2 blocks to the west, and then you're gonna make 1 right turn to the east, and then behind the rock you're gonna find the house. It may sound comical, I over exaggerated it a little bit, but that's what they use. They use like places or areas that are established in the zone, and they'll give you the address. Basically, they're not gonna give you an exact address, so you just gotta be aware that you're gonna spend a lot of time looking for places or trying to find them. So a major tip is that if you are going somewhere and you're in communication with that person, tell them, drop me a point on the map, a GPS location, and send me that to Google Maps so I can search it and have an exact point where to go. So that means that you won't get lost, you won't be looking for directions. But if you do get lost, it's possible to find areas. Google Maps does work around here, so you can use that to look at the maps and try to orient yourself, which is major plus, major key alert. So just be aware when you're looking for directions in Nicaragua, you are gonna waste a little bit of time, but if they drop a point for you, you'll get there a lot faster. So what do you guys think? The beginning of the video started a little bit weird, right? You use your headlights and your horn for communication. Then we talked about the police a little bit, because to be honest, yeah, nobody likes the police, yeah, just to be honest. Fourth is we talked about just driving techniques in general to make sure that you can drive like a pro while you're out here. And fifth, GPS, man, can be a headache out here, but it's doable. Hopefully you guys enjoyed all these tips. That is my mission, to give you value before you come here, or even if you're living here. If you have any questions or comments, drop them below. If you want to get in contact with me, hit me up on Instagram. There's my link below too. I'll see you guys in the next video. If you watch till the end, you are amazing. You help the performance in this video, which helps me grow, which helps my coffee plants grow, and helps the coffee farm grow, which we produce more coffee, and then we caffeinate the world. It's all one circle, you know. I'll see you guys in the next video. Is your coffee brother from Nicaragua.